Hello, everybody. My name is Larry Bodine. I'm a board member of Democrats of Greater Tucson. I'm a former chair of the LD 18 Democrats, and I've been a Democratic PC, precinct committee man, for 20 years. And it's my pleasure today to be speaking with Adrian. How are you today, Adrian?
I'm doing well, Larry. How are you?
Good. Adrian's the 21st Secretary of State of Arizona. He was elected in 2022 to a four-year term, and he announced that he's running for re-election on the 2026 ballot. Adrian is a proud native of Arizona. He's an honorable veteran of the U.S. Marine Corps, serving from 1992 to 1996. He's the father of three daughters, and he's spent a lifetime fighting for justice and defending democracy.
World Forum that is held in Brussels every year. And part of my job as a leader in the Democratic Party is to talk to Democrats. So outside of that, I went and met with the Democrats Abroad chapter in Brussels in Belgium. And I then traveled to Munich to visit with those folks and then to London to visit those folks. But when I was in Munich with the Democrats Abroad, it just happened to be June 14th, Flag Day, and what we were calling No King's Day in Munich, although I understand that in Brussels and in London, they were calling it No Tyrants Day because they've got kings in Germany and Belgium. So I was there outside of the United States consular office in Munich with about 350 American expats and allies, and it was a great day to demonstrate our fealty to the Constitution of the United States, the rule of law. There were some speeches, there was rallying, and it was just a unique privilege to be with Americans on that day, albeit overseas, but they are Americans nonetheless and American voters.
Adrian, what I wanted to talk to you about today was how we can revive the Democratic Party by attracting younger voters. As I'm sure we're in a situation that we need to turn around. According to a recent poll, only 33% of voters hold a favorable view of the Democratic Party. And we're in a situation where in 2024, Democrats suffered a 20% drop among Gen Z voters. And I think we have an opportunity there because millennials and Gen Z account for 48.5% of voters. So give me your ideas on how can we recruit these voters to become active in the Democratic Party and to elect Democrats?
It's actually a little bit worse than you indicated, Larry. There was a story in the New York Times that just came out today as we're filming this that indicates that in every single state where they keep voter registration by numbers, Democrats are dropping off. And that is a significant problem with, one could cynically say, with marketing. We are using the same tired song and dance that the Beltway pundits have been shoving down our throats, that the Beltway consultants have been forcing us to get involved with. And that's the real problem that we have as Democrats. We're not being authentic, we're not being honest, and we're not actually fighting. We're explaining. We're trying to make people feel good. We're trying to be all things to all people, and we will never be all things to all people. That's not the idea behind competing worldviews. We have to accept the fact that there are people who would much rather have their fellow citizens starve in their old age. There are people among us who would rather not have educated children moving up into the future. There are people among us who would rather make sure that the richest among us are continuously enriched and everybody else can just figure it out. That's not where we stand. But the way that we put things is we just try to make everybody feel good because we're all warm and fuzzy and peace and lovey and all that bull. And that's not what wins competitions. And that makes us seem weak. It makes us seem soft. And in times when people need champions, we need to act like champions. We need to talk like champions. We need to be champions. And then when we've won campaigns, when we've won offices, we can continue to fight for the rights of the underprivileged, the underserved, the marginalized. But we can't even get to that fight if people don't have faith that we know how to fight in the first place.
Good point. I know one of the things that younger people would like to see the Democratic Party address are all economic issues. The cost of housing. I want to move out of my mom's basement. I want to buy a car, but I can't afford the payments. I have a lot of student debt. and they want to be able to go out for dinner without having to check their bank account. How can the Democratic Party focus on economic issues?
Again, stop being everything to all people. Look, there are greedy people out there who want to just slash taxes so that they can keep more of what they have, and to hell with everybody else. That's just flat out greed. Let's call it what it is. And let's call it to everyone. The bottom line is this. It doesn't matter what the issue is, whether it's economics, whether it's the environment, whether it's safety in our public places. Young people are moving away from the Democratic Party because they're seeing us as weak. We can't sell the idea of kumbaya when we're combating against hunger, when we're combating against homelessness, when we're combating, yes, we can have that love in our hearts. Absolutely. That's what drives the strongest warriors. But if we forget that we are warriors, then we just look super soft. And I don't abide by that. And that's one of the reasons why I won as handily as I did right here in Arizona. And I think that toughness is one of the reasons why Mark Kelly won as handily as he did in 2022, because we showed that we would fight and we asserted ourselves in our campaigns. We didn't try to please everyone. And there were certainly people in the Democratic Party who were very upset with the fact that I wouldn't sign off on defund the police pledges. Of course, I'm not going to sign off on that. Defund the police is one of the stupidest things the Democratic Party could have ever said. Why? Because we want safe communities, and the police is how we get there. Do the police need reforming? Yeah, we'll take care of that after we get elected. But if you alienate those folks who support the police just because of your personal politics, and you've got to scream it from the mountaintops, you're not doing anybody any good, because you're going to lose. And that's one of the reasons a lot of those candidates did lose. Now, I, as a matter of principle, as a veteran of the Marine Corps, I love the notion that we've got a competent police force. I love the idea that they can help keep our communities safe. I don't like the idea that some few of them overreach and abuse their power, and we can deal with that. But if we start with the worst message possible that only speaks to this tiny little margin of our group because we want them to feel good, we lose. We keep doing that to these tiny little its and bits and pieces. We've got a diffuse message that has no clear boundaries, that is fuzzy and warm and fuzzy, and it doesn't speak to anyone. And then we underperform, and people don't have faith that we can lead.
I know you've certainly been outspoken and demonstrated strength. When Trump came out and said he had a plan to stop mail-in voting, you said he was bonkers.
Yeah, he is. And that plan is bonkers. And we know that it's unconstitutional. We know that Arizonans love voting by mail. We know that it helped conservatives. We know all of these things. So why don't we just flat out say it? Why don't we just fight back and say, this is a stupid idea? It's an unconstitutional idea. It's an un-American idea. And oh, by the way, the president doesn't run the states. I don't work for you, Mr. Trump. How hard is it to just say it? We don't want to alienate anyone. We don't want to alienate. Look, conservatives know that I don't work for the president, and conservatives want leaders. Republicans want leaders, independents want leaders, libertarians want leaders who are going to stand up and say, this is my lane and I'm in command of this lane. I'm going to take care of my business. You take care of yours. Who doesn't want that? But if we come
Everybody does.
we got to consider this and we got to consider that, get out of town. It's disingenuous, to be honest. We're relying on a hedge. Oh, I don't want to make anybody angry. So we're fighting with the attitude of, I don't want to lose. Instead of, I'm going to win because I'm right. I'm going to win because I have better ideas that are going to benefit you. They're going to benefit your family. They're going to benefit the environment. They're going to benefit your economic outlook. They're going to benefit your opportunities, your education. They're going to benefit the arts. They're going to benefit the sciences. We're going to have a better society in general because our ideas are better. No, what do? We say we have to consider blah, blah, blah. Like, enough with being soft loses. We know that. And I'll be honest, and this is going to make some Democrats grumpy when I say this. I'll be 100% honest. This whole notion of when they go low, we go high, that comes from a place of great privilege.
Yes.
All right. That comes from voices that are already at the top or on their way to the top. Because when they go low, what we need to be doing is stepping on their throats. That's what we do when they go low. Expose them for the jerks that they are. Expose them for their cruelty and their meanness. Expose them for their bullying and their own violence. That's not hard. And it's not mean and it's not grotesque. And it's not, oh, that's too rough. Come on. Come on, really? Like, we're in a fight for the survival of civilization here. Quite literally, look at what is happening to the planet. Because folks on the political left want to get along with everybody. Get over yourself. This isn't about you and how you feel and how, oh, everybody likes me. No, this is about the survival of the species. It's about tomorrow's generation and tomorrow's generation. We got to stop mamby-pambying around our politics. It's just, that's why we've lost blue collar working men. That's why we've lost Latino men. That's why we've lost cops and firefighters and union members and truck drivers. That's why we've lost coal miners. Not that we'd like there to be any more coal miners, but let's just be honest. We're not fighting. We're whining and we're complaining. And that's not how you win. That's not how you win. The politics of victimhood needs to be over. And
I couldn't agree with you more. It's time for Democrats to take a strong stand, and there's plenty of issues. The big, beautiful bill, the military invasion of Washington, D.C. And so I think we have an opportunity with almost half the voters being in Generation Z and Generation X. And if we can just appeal to them with a strong message, I think we can get them to vote for Democrats. I heard you talk recently about how to engage young voters that involves a lot of listening. But what are some of the strong messages that we can send to young people today who are half the voters?
Number one, I don't think we should narrow ourselves to young voters. There's a whole hell of a lot of other people out there who the Republicans chased and they got on their side. People who had never voted and never been engaged before. So let's not pretend that this is just a bunch of old people trying to figure out what to tell young people, okay? Number one. But when we do focus on that particularly young demographic, 35 to 18 years old, is what we consider, or at least what I consider younger voters. Yeah, the strategy has number one been, I've got to listen, because I didn't grow up with the threat of absolute climate crisis when I was a young person. I don't have that in my perception as a younger person. I do now, but that's different. I didn't suffer through COVID-19 shutouts of my schooling for 2 years. Just yesterday, a kid got stabbed to death at Maryvale High School here in the Phoenix area.
Saw that.
Violence in schools, gun violence, particularly in schools. I didn't grow up with that threat. I grew up with guys having their rifles in the rifle rack at the back of their pickup truck down in Nogales. It wasn't like everybody had guns. It wasn't that big of a deal. Now it's a whole different world. So what we need to do, I think, as folks who've been around the sun a couple more times than the younger folks, is we need to stop and we need to listen. And we need to humble ourselves a little bit. A, we need to be grateful that we've enjoyed the privilege that we've enjoyed. B, we need to understand younger people don't have that same privilege. They don't have those same expectations that they're going to do better than their parents. And so they're coming from a very different place. We are the ones who need to make the adjustment. We are the ones who need to change our perception. We can't use the same old messages. Hunker down, work hard, that's going to be that. No, we need to call for systemic changes. And those systemic changes require everyone to get engaged. We know that tyranny loses once 3.5% of the population gets involved in a resistance. We know that. Just by saying that makes it approachable for younger people. You know what? I might be able to make a difference to get us to that 3.5%. Because it's true. You broke down all of the age demographics and you just said 18 to 35-year-olds, and you got enough of them to fill in a 3.5% of the total population gap, and they're Democrats, we win all the time. We win all the time. But that's not the only thing we need to do. It's not just about numbers. It's about letting them know that it's okay to be scared. It's okay to be worried. It's not a terrible thing that you realize how bad things are for you and why it is that you might not want to get a driver's license, why it is that you might not really think about having kids, why it is that owning a house might not even be in your plans because you've already done the math and it just seems impossible. Did you know, Larry, that to compare minimum wage to the cost of housing now, as to what was basically the average in the 1970s, minimum wage would have to be $66 an hour. Think
Yeah.
about that for a second. Think about that for a second. The rushing economics of our world and the way that we've allowed things to move forward is an absolute monstrosity in the psyche of younger people. And until we figure that out, until we make the adjustments in our own way of perceiving the world, we don't have any business telling young people a damn thing. We are the ones who need to make those adjustments and listen to them and ask them what they think those solutions are. And then we show them how they can approach making those solutions real. Because there is a process by which, a lawful process by which we can make those solutions real. But without listening to what they think those solutions ought to be, we're lost. So let's open the door for them. Let's let them in. Let's let them guide the way when it comes to what potential solutions are to the things that are bothering them. Let's humble ourselves a little, be grateful that they're willing to talk to us. And then we can say, okay, this process requires this and that process requires that. And you're welcome to come in. And then we don't just beat them up and create leadership positions for them immediately just so that we don't lose them. No, just let them do some work. Let them get some self-worth out of these things and let them develop into the leaders that they're going to develop into. And then slowly but surely we can bring more folks in. But if we don't do the things that you're suggesting, and that is focus on young people, we're toasted. We are toasted.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it's a problem, but it's also a huge opportunity for the Democratic Party, especially because one of the things in the talk you gave earlier talked about how young people have a different way of learning. They don't.
Yeah.
It's people in my generation, us old timers, who still read print newspapers and listen to NPR and get the news off of the TV. Young people get their news from TikTok, from Instagram and YouTube. And you really do have to speak to them in a different way. And the last thing you want to do is say, in my day, this is how we did it. And, I found I've been able to recruit young people by simply going to a big room, a fundraiser, or an event. I always look for the youngest person in the room, walk up to them and talk to them and just tell them, what are the issues that concern you? And at that point, I just shut up and listen. And I know that's an approach that you've employed very well.
Yep. Yeah. And look, what you're doing is you're leading. You're leading in that way. You're leading with your heart, and you can be. Look, when I talk about being tough on the campaign trail, I'm talking about messaging. But when you're talking about bringing people in and showing them some grace and showing them some love, just asking that kind of question: what's important to you? What are you worried about? What scares you about tomorrow? That's a big deal. That means you're willing to invest some of the limited time you have on this planet listening to them, hearing what they have to say, and then working through why it is. What you really ought to consider this and this if that's something that you might be interested in talking about. And oh, by the way, if you ever want to talk to me about something else, here's my number. Give me a call. Just be that person, because human interactions are fewer and further between than they used to be. But
That's right.
we're
A
still
lot of people looking at screens these days.
we're still the same creatures. We're still very social. We still need that interaction. So don't confuse my rough and tumble attitude when it comes to an actual campaign and how we get out there and win politically with the compassion and the love I feel for my fellow human beings. That's real. But I can't get to the place where I can make a difference for them unless I win a competition, a hard competition, and that's the politics. We can walk and chew gum at the same time, but we have to be cognizant of this, and we have to not fall into the same trap that so many other people have fallen into, and that is by trying to bumper sticker our way through life, trying to make it super easy so that we are comfortable. If you're comfortable, you're probably doing it wrong.
Yeah, and there's a lot of issues we can present to younger people. One of the things they're most concerned about now is student debt. It'll be 20 years and they're still paying it off. And there's also this huge unaddressed mental health crisis of depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts among young people, to the point that the Surgeon General even came out with a paper about it. And I think it's an opportunity for us to not only focus on economic events, other events, issues that affect them personally. Now, we have had some success in Arizona. We've got two wonderful legislators, State Representative Ana Balleda, she's 29 from LD 24, and then Flavio Bravo, age 31, and he's an Arizona state senator. He's a Democrat from LD 26. What can we do to find more people like them to run for office and get active in the Democratic Party?
Let's be just realistic. There's only so many seats that are available. The Democrats can win. And if we're going to foster these leaders and we're going to push them forward, some of us need to get out of the way. Now, I'm not going to get out of the way. I'm running for re-election. So this spot is closed, kids. Sorry. That's going to be a tough primary if you want to challenge me. But the reality is, when we get to the point where we see a couple of younger elected officials, I think that's a very positive thing. But it's not just about elected officials, and I don't think we should put any more energy into that than we already have. One of the things that I heard you mention a couple times, Larry, is that this is an opportunity, this is an opportunity, this is an opportunity. You use that word a lot. And here's the thing. Last week was an opportunity, so was last month, so was last year. So were the last 2 years, 4 years, 8 years when Democrats did not register voters. We were not out there full blown every day, all the time registering voters. And somebody's waiting for an LD to organize it. Somebody's waiting for the state party to organize it. Somebody's waiting for some statewide leader to organize it. It's like we're always waiting for somebody else to take the first step. Why? Why, Democrats? An opportunity exists every single day, all the time. What you do with your time is up to you. But don't come complaining if we as a party, and that means individuals at the individual level, aren't making the effort. We aren't putting together what we need to do individually every single day to make the difference that we can make. I can tell you right now, if every single person who's active in the Democratic Party actually does something every single day between now and 2026, we will clear the table. We will have absolute success here in Arizona. But that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because people are comfortable. People love their lives. They like doing this, they like doing that. Okay, cool. That's fine. Then face the reality that we're not going to get the results that we could get. Or let's all pitch in. Let's all register voters every single day. Let's all listen to young people all the time. Let's all help those candidates where they need the help. Let's all do those sorts of things every single day so that we can advance the issues and the principles and the values that we as Democrats hold. Because we have not been taking advantage of all those opportunities. And by the way, Larry, they've always existed. This is not new. This is not a new day. This is not a new chapter. This is just you and me talking for the first time like this. Okay, that's the only difference. This is the opportunities have always existed. We've got to be rough on ourselves too. We've got to be honest with ourselves. We have failed as an entire party. And sometimes that's hard to hear because there's a lot of people out there, not enough, but a lot of people out there that put a ton of time and energy into trying to get the Democratic Party moving. And God bless every single one of those people. And they deserve the credit that they get. What about the rest of us? What about the rest of us who tend to spend some time sitting on the sidelines? Like we got
Yeah,
to
I have
be
that.
honest with ourselves, man. We got to be honest with ourselves, and we got to be very clear-eyed in the direction that we need to go in.
Absolutely. And you mentioned earlier that people are scared, and I think they rightfully should be scared when you see ICE agents coming in and just hauling people away, and they're in black masks and hats and sunglasses. It's like the Trump secret police. And what I tell people is don't be scared, get up and do something, get out and volunteer.
Yeah.
But to help overcome that fear, what do you think about those? Are those fears you think the Democrats can address?
Look, I got a lot of my training in those sorts of spaces from the United States Marine Corps. And
Yes.
The Marine Corps isn't designed to be used in civilian spaces. So the way I would react to some of that stuff might not be exactly appropriate. We have to really try to stay nonviolent. We've got to take care of ourselves, obviously. But I do agree with the notion that you should not be scared. Being scared is that's the sort of the position of victimhood.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have allowed yourself to become scared instead of saying, no, not in my community. And however you want to temper it, that's fine. You can scream it, you can just say it, but that strength that comes from not being a victim is incredibly important, particularly nowadays. Moreover, I don't mind the notion of being able to defend yourself. I think everybody should, and I think everybody has the right to. But at the end of the day, that's also a receipt of an action upon you. What are we doing to
Right.
advance? What are we doing to move forward into these spaces and make it harder for these masked thugs? And by the way, I'm not calling legitimate law enforcement folks thugs. When I say masked thugs, I'm talking about the folks who you cannot identify. No
Right.
faces, no name tags, no badge numbers. That person might as well be a thug because I have no idea who they really are. And if they are doing lawful, honorable work, why won't they identify themselves? That's a really significant problem in the United States of America today, and it has been for a while. And we need to be able to have the strength to call that out and go to regular law enforcement and say, who is this person grabbing a student? Who is this person grabbing my neighbor? We have no
Yes.
idea. That might as well be a kidnapping in open daylight.
That's right.
Just because they're wearing some olive green drab, like I don't know who that person is. Are they ICE really? How do we know? Who is that?
You don't know.
So we have the right to question our government. And it's amazing to me that the conservatives who were always worried about jackbooted thugs marching down the street and trampling their rights, now they're like, whoa, no, it's okay. We're
It's okay. We're going to send them
unidentified. Yeah, we're totally okay with unidentified, allegedly federal agents coming in and just swooping people off the streets. No problem with that overreaching federal authority in the face of local law enforcement. Not a problem at all. That's insane to me. It's insane to me that flip has happened, but we are where we are. So to bring it all back to where we started, Larry, and to make sure that we put a point on this as we wind up, young people are the future. There's no question about it. But we can't just focus on young people. They're important, they're critical, but there's plenty of votes out there to be had among regular working folks. There's plenty of people that can be brought back because they got betrayed by not the promises, but the outcomes of what their vote for Donald Trump showed us. And the other thing, too, is there's a lot of folks out there that we lost because we pushed them to the side. We told them you don't matter anymore. We flat out said that. We don't want to hear from you. We want to hear from this person, that person, instead of including them in the conversation as well. And that's comeuppance that we have to face. We pushed a lot of our own voters aside. Unions, cops, firefighters, farmers, blue-collar workers, we pushed them aside. And it did elevate other voices, I'll give you that. But if we're going to be inclusive, we still have to include the voices that we've pushed aside. We still have to include dads who just want to protect and provide for their families. We still got to include working folks who are just trying to get by and really don't want to pay attention to all the rest of that nonsense. They may be very religious people. They may be very quietly in their space, but they're still compassionate and they still think government has a role in helping the underprivileged and underserved. We can't just push people aside because of one little aspect of this that they believe in or one little aspect of that they believe in. We've got to, if we're going to be inclusive, we've got to include the people that we've been alienating over the last several years. And that's going to sound a little controversial to some people. But you know what? It's true. Because this is supposed to be the game of addition, not subtraction. This is supposed to bring more people into your tent, not push people aside. And we've been really good at pushing certain people aside. And I've heard it, I've seen it, and I've felt it myself. And it doesn't feel good. So we've got to do some soul searching as Democrats if we're going to bring young people in, if we're going to heal the wounds, and if we're going to get back on a positive trajectory, which is where I think we need to be, Larry. And I really appreciate being with you today.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Adrian. It's really exciting, and it makes me proud to hear all of the points you've made, that we've got to stop being namby-pamby. We've got to call out fascism when we see it. And you can't just sit on your couch watching the news and crying that, oh my God, it's so terrible out there. In conclusion, what would you say if somebody came to you and said, I'm not sure about getting active in the Democratic Party, but I want to do something? How would you respond to them?
First, I tell them, yeah, no kidding. Sometimes I wonder about the Democratic Party myself. Because I do. And that's real, and it's true, and it's authentic, and that's what people need to hear. We are not perfect, but we're better than the alternative. And being with us means that you're against the creeping authoritarianism. It means you're against the cruelty. It means you're against the ridiculousness and the incompetence, right? And we're still in a two-party system. It is A versus B. You cannot get away from that, as unfortunate as that may be. And perhaps may never happen, but until a real third party emerges or some other real alternative emerges, we've got what we've got, and that's what we got to work with. And that's what you tell folks. That's what I tell folks. It's not complicated. It's just real. Just tell them the truth. And don't worry about offending them. They're coming to you talking about politics, for God's sakes. That's what they want to hear. They want to hear the truth. So tell them the truth. Tell them what you truly believe. That's going to be the best way to get them to understand, you know what? Yeah, they're not perfect, but they're going to fight for me at the end of the day. And that's what people need to know.
Absolutely. Adrian, thank you so much for your time and everything you're doing. And I'll be out there knocking on doors and collecting signatures to help get you elected in 2026. So I wish you all the best, man.
Thanks for the help, Larry. Really appreciate it. And thanks to everybody watching. Have a great afternoon.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.